Hello creeps! Andy here, and I have some exciting news. I finally picked up the Grimm's fairy tales. So this is by the brothers Grimm, and these are all of the original fairy tales that all of us have grown up with. They are much darker than the counterparts that we know so well. And so in this video today, I thought that we would take a look at one of the stories, and I would tell you the origins of where the story actually began. So join me today into the dark mind of the brothers Grimm as we discuss the story Cinderella. So first of all, the story Cinderella starts with a mother on her deathbed. She calls her daughter over because she knows she doesn't have much time left, and she says, "Dear child, be good and pious, and then the good God will always protect thee, and I will look down on thee from heaven and be near thee." And thereupon she closed her eyes and departed. It starts off with someone witnessing the death of their mother, which is already pretty dark, but oh, does it get much darker than that. So I'm gonna go through and explain the whole story because there are a lot of similarities to the movie Cinderella, but then obviously a lot of differences too. I really liked this line though. It says, "When winter came, the snow spread a white sheet over the grave, and when the spring sun had drawn it off again, the man had taken another wife." And it said they were beautiful and fair of face, but vile and black of heart. Basically, at this point, the story is pretty similar. Cinderella has her clothes taken away and she has to wear an old gray bedgown, and she was given wooden shoes. She had to work from morning till night and get up before daybreak, carry water, light fires, cook and wash, which is pretty similar to the story. They also emptied her peas and lentils into the ashes so that she was forced to sit and pick them out. But then listen to this, because I had no idea that this is where her name originated from. She had no bed to go to, but had to sleep by the fireside in the ashes, and as on account, she always looked dusty and dirty. They called her Cinderella. That's why they call her that. It's not even her name. It's just because she's a dirty bitch. But it never says her real name in the book. She's always referred to as Cinderella, which is also kind of messed up. And then also, I think the movie Cinderella, I don't really remember it. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I think in the movie, she only lives with her stepmom and stepsisters. But in this book, the dad is just as big of a part as the neglect as the stepfamily is. So I think that's a difference. I don't really remember, but I do remember a Cinderella story, and her dad definitely was not around. So now what happens is her father's going to the fair one day, and he asks his children, "What would you like me to bring back for you?" And the step-siblings go, "Oh, I want you to bring gold and silver and dresses and all this beautiful stuff." And he's like, "Okay, what about you, Cinderella?" And she says, "Father, break off for me the first branch which knocks against your hat on your way home." And so he does it, and she ends up burying that stick by her mother's grave, and it turns into a big, beautiful tree. And on the tree is a bird, and the bird grants her wishes. So it's easy to see where the story Cinderella derived from, the Disney version. You know, a lot of it's there, like it is basically like a fairy godmother type of thing, and the birds do help her and things like that. But anyways, let's get back to the story. So now the king has a festival to try to find his son a bride. This of course happens in the movie, and Cinderella begs her stepmom, "Please let me go." And she's like, "You're dirty, you don't know how to dance, you just embarrass us." And then she's like, "You know what? I'll throw these lentils into the ashes, and if you can pick them out in 2 hours, you can go." So she calls on her bird friends and she says, "Please have all the birds come and eat the lentils." They come and peck, eat them all. She shows her stepmother, and her stepmother's like, "Okay, no. If you can get them out in 1 hour, again, then you can go." Again, she calls in the birds, and they do the same thing. But at the end, her mother's like, "Just kidding, you can't go, you're dumb." She ends up going beneath the tree and asking the bird for a dress so that she can wear to the ball. Now, Cinderella shows up to the ball, and she's so beautiful. Her dress is so beautiful, and she looks obviously much different than she typically does, that her family doesn't even recognize her. She goes to the ball, she meets the prince. The prince only dances with her, and if someone else asks to dance, he says, "This is my partner," or "She is my partner," or something like that. And so they dance all night, and Cinderella goes, "Oh, I have to get home before my family." So she takes off, and the prince is like, "Hey, what happened?" So this is actually a 3-day festival. So again, she asks the bird for a dress after her family leaves. The bird gives her an even more beautiful dress than the day before. She goes back to the ball, she dances with the prince, again takes off on him, and he's like, "Dude, I cannot keep this girl around." So then on the 3rd night, the same thing happens. She gets an even more beautiful dress, she shows up, they dance all the night away, and then she leaves. But he has caused the whole staircase to be smeared with pitch. I have no idea what pitch is, but it's some sort of sticky substance because it says the maiden's left slipper remained sticking. So that's what happened to the shoe and why she ends up losing it. Now I know what you're thinking. This isn't even a horror story. What are you talking about? This is even dark. Just wait because it's about to be. This is where the story takes a turn. So he has the shoe and he says that no one shall be my wife but she whose foot this golden slipper fits. So he goes to where Cinderella lives and the stepsisters are like, I gotta try this on. So the first one brings the shoe in with her mother and tries it on. But it says, but she could not get her big toe in it, and the shoe was too small for her. Then her mother gave her a knife and said, cut the toe off. When thou art queen, thou wilt have no more need to go on foot. The maiden cut the toe off. So she is trying to get her foot in the shoe and says, Mom, my toe won't fit. And her mom's like, cut it off. Wow, okay, a little dark, but just wait, it gets worse. So she puts the shoe on and the prince is like, oh, she must be the one. Throws her on the back of the horse, they start riding away. They pass the tree that's over Cinderella's mother's grave and one of the birds says, hey dipshit, don't you see her foot's bleeding? And he looks down and he's like, oh my gosh, you tricked me, you're not the one. Brings her back, the other sister says, I'll try it on. So she goes in to try it on with her mother, but her heel was too large. So her mother gave her a knife and said, cut a bit off thy heel. When thou art queen, thou wilt have no more need to go on foot. The maiden cut off a bit of her heel, forced her foot into the shoe, swallowed the pain, and went out to the king's son. So again, he threw her on the back of the horse, and they go to take off, and the bird again says, dude, her foot is bleeding. And then he's like, oh, you're right, okay. So brings her back, asks if there are any other women at the house, and the dad says, no, there is still a little stunted kitchen wench, which my late wife left behind, but she could not possibly be the bride. What a dick. She ends up trying on the shoe, it fits, and lo and behold, they go off to get married. Now, when she left, the doves from the tree land on her shoulders, and they stay there. One on the right and one on the left, and remained sitting there. I don't know if it's forever, or I don't know, but it just says they remained there. So then the wedding was about to take place, and the two sisters came and wanted to get into the wedding with Cinderella. They're like, come on, we're sisters, let us in, we're not that bad. So then here is the pretty dark ending. It says, when the betrothed couple went to church, the elder was on the right and the younger at the left, and the pigeons pecked out one eye of each of them. Afterwards, as they came back, the elder was on the left and the younger on the right. Then the pigeons pecked out the other eye of each. Okay, so now they're missing toes and heels and both their eyes. Now, when I first got this book, I was telling my husband, I think that the brothers Grimm writes fables mainly, which are, you know, stories that have some sort of moral in it. So when I got the book and saw Cinderella, I was like, what is the moral of the story in Cinderella? But there is a moral in here. Would you like to hear it? It's the very last line of the story. It says, and thus for their wickedness and falsehood, they were punished with blindness as long as they live. So don't be a bitch or you're gonna go blind. So I read this and I was like, okay, this is something I can get behind. So that is the story of Cinderella. A bit darker than you remember it, but still a good story. I mean, yeah, the moral's there, don't be a dick. I think that's a pretty good thing to live your life by. Were these written for children? Let me look really quickly. Originally, Grimm's fairy tales were not meant for children. Oh, okay. The stories routinely included sex, violence, incest, and copious footnotes. Stories about incest. So that's even more messed up, that the people at Disney were sitting around reading Brothers Grimm's story and they were like, you know, I know there's like eye plucking and foot cutting offing and neglect and abuse. Let's make this into a kid's story. A little strange. So that is the story of Cinderella. Let me know if you guys knew that this is where the story of Cinderella derived from. Let me know if you guys want me to do more of these. I can't imagine that this video will do that well on my channel, but there are so many stories that we grew up with that are in this book, so I'm very curious to read them, and I would like to make more videos if you guys are interested in this. I have made a few videos about kids' stories that are darker than we thought they were when we were younger. I did one recently on James and the Giant Peach, and so I will leave that one linked down below. And then I also did one video on just disturbing books that I can't believe that we read as kids that was a little bit more fun. But the James and the Giant Peach I went a little dark with, so watch at your own risk. But anyways, let me know if you guys would like to see more of these videos, and if not, I will be back soon with another type of horror story. Thank you for joining me for the story of Cinderella, and hopefully you guys will be interested and I could read a few more stories from the Brothers Grimm. See you guys next time. Bye.